The most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 12. The penultimate episode brought something special to the show. We had characters returning, schemes underway, we revisited the time period of post-Episode 9 but pre-Episode 1 of Breaking Bad, and we saw the fall of Gene Tarkovic. With many moments to choose from, I think I found the one that claims the title this week. So let's get into it. Here is the most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 12. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Episode 12 was split into three main sections. We had a glimpse into the life that Kim had been living these past few years, settling down in Florida and feeling the guilt of the past over reconnecting with Jimmy on the phone. We had the time period of around mid to late 2005, where Kim and Jimmy were signing their divorce papers, and we also had the fall of Gene Tarkovic in the climax of the episode. There were multiple moments that came close to taking the top spot, such as the moment that we saw Kim breaking down on the bus on her way back to Florida after revisiting Albuquerque. We just spent around 20 minutes with the character, and we saw all that she'd been up to in the past 6 years. She was working for Palm Coast Sprinklers in Florida in an office where she was working the traditional 9 to 5. She had a boyfriend that it seemed as though there wasn't much excitement with, and she had friendly neighbors. She was living the traditional suburban life. You could see from the moment that the sequence began that she was unhappy with the lifestyle that she was now leading. This wasn't the Kim that we knew or remembered. From going from one of the best up-and-coming lawyers to now being an individual who can't decide on a flavor of ice cream and isn't prepared to make a single decision was something that was unrecognizable. It almost felt as though she didn't know the person who she now was. In fact, the only time we got a glimpse of realness in her time in Florida was when she was on the phone to Jimmy and her lip was quivering. This phone call was what spurred her on to do the actions that we saw unfold. She visited Cheryl, Howard's wife, and she also went to court where she handed both of them a statement that contained all of the information on the pre-work that was done to get Howard's name tarnished, and also the events that happened on the night that he was killed. This all led to the scene that we saw on the bus where she just broke down and delivered a performance that was heartbreaking to watch. Kim, a character that we all love. Even though she's had her wrongdoings and involvements in all that occurred, she was now breaking down. This delivery was excellent, and it came at the right time in the episode. She was revisiting her past, something she hadn't done for about 6 years. We know that she hadn't even spoken to Jimmy in that amount of time, so it was buried deep. By going back and revisiting most probably the most defining part of her life, it took its toll on her and was almost like revisiting the past and seeing all of the ghosts that once were. The table she used to sit on, the automated barrier. Things changed, the town had moved on, but even though on the outside she was acting as though she had, internally she hadn't. And this scene was that being shown on the outside for the first time in what I imagine would have been 6 years. Another moment that came close to taking the title of the most powerful moment in the episode was the very first scene that we had, before the opening sequence started rolling. We saw a Jimmy that was nervously awaiting the arrival of somebody, and even once they arrived, he was too nervous to let them in. This was Kim. It was the day that he needed to sign the divorce papers, and you could see that he was hurt. It was something that he didn't want to do, and it was impacting him. The different uses of distractions that he was using, plus the close-up shots of his face at the end of the sequence showed that it was something that he was putting off. This paired with the then polar opposite behavior when Kim entered the room and was in the sequence that was in the middle of the episode showed just how much it was hurting him. He barely looked at her, was on his phone, and he finished with the line, "Have a nice life, Kim." His true emotions and feelings were that of what we saw at the start of the episode, and the front and facade that he was putting up was occurring in this scene. Uttering lines like, "What do you think? It's pretty great, right?" when referring to his office showed that he still wanted validation from her. You could see that Kim didn't recognize Jimmy. He was no longer the person that she was married to in the sense that they signed the divorce papers, but he'd also changed. This was also further supported after the scene when Jesse met Kim and asked if Saul Goodman was good, and Kim said, "He was when I knew him," meaning that the connection was now gone and the person she knew was dead. However, the moment that I believe is the most powerful moment in the entirety of episode 12 were the final 2 minutes of the episode. We saw Gene enter Marion's house with the intention of taking her to bail Jeff out of jail. When he saw that Marion was watching something on her laptop, we saw him hear what was being played, and on his glance at the laptop, he saw his own commercial being played. This shot was beautiful. It was the only time that we'd had color in a Gene sequence. and it was one of his commercial being reflected in his glasses. The color represented the life that he once had, the good old days, back when he had a life, the identity that he'd almost been tapping into recently. After this, we saw a side to Jimmy where it looked as though he was going to stoop to a new low. It was made out like he was going to kill Marion with the telephone wire, but thankfully he didn't. This showed that whilst he was on the trajectory to almost turning into Walter White, and was mirroring his behavior in these past few episodes, this showed us that he will never be as evil as he once was. There's a shred of humanity still left inside of Jimmy. Tensions were rising, and we heard Marion utter the words, "I trusted you." This was after a few seconds of silence and them just staring at each other. We saw for the first time in this scene, Gene's face softened, his lip was shaking, and he almost looked hurt by what she'd just said. It was the polar opposite to how we saw him a few seconds earlier. This saw him then hand the emergency alarm back to Marion, where she pressed the button, asked the responder to call the police, and stated how there was a wanted man in her house, and his name is Saul Goodman. That final line was something that sent shivers down my spine. The cat was truly out of the bag. The life he thought he'd left behind, despite not really wanting to, was colliding with the alias he thought he'd always be safe in. Hearing the name Saul Goodman being spoken by somebody who only ever knew this person as Gene, and in the timeline where we don't ever see it being spoken, felt so powerful. Nobody had called him that for a while, other than when Jeff noticed him in the shopping mall, but that was inconsequential. This had the weight of the world behind it when she spoke it, and it mattered. Those closing moments of the episode were special, and most definitely deserved their spot as the most powerful moments in the entirety of Season 6, Episode 12. There's one episode remaining of the Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad universe, and that means one more video of the most powerful moments of the show. I'm hoping it's going to be a good one, and maybe the best of them all. I'm thinking of doing a video on Breaking Bad Season 3 Episode 10, Fly. I know it's a divisive one, but I was going to create a video breaking down the episode, and despite it being divisive, discuss the importance of it. If you want to see that, then drop a comment below and I'll see if there's an appetite for it. So, there you have it, the most powerful moment in Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 12. If you want to see more videos on Better Call Saul such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What was your most powerful moment? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.